All right, Mr. Moore, you can begin.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Desmond Moore, and I serve as head of schools for Dwight D. Eisenhower Charter School. And today, I will be serving as the moderator of the Inspire NOLA virtual panel discussion, Coaching in New Orleans, Providing Leadership on and off the field. And I'm extremely excited about having this conversation today. The purpose of this discussion is to give insight on how our prominent guests first were introduced to coaching, as well as dig deeper into the mentoring aspect of coaching that often gets overlooked. To begin our discussion, I want to introduce our panelists. First, we have from Saint Augustine, Brent Washington, who's the basketball coach. We have Coach Bryce Brown, head football coach at Nicole High School. Keith Haywood Sr., head women's basketball coach of St. Mary's Academy. Steve Kelly, head men's basketball coach at McMain Secondary School. And Coach Kevin Saunders, former head basketball coach of McDonough 35. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Some champions, legends in the building. I'm going to transition to the discussion. I want to thank you all for attending today's panel. Let's dig in by starting to talk about some career things. Coach Sanders, if I can start with you, basic question: where did your interest in coaching first start?
I was basically born in a gym. So my dad was a local parochial school coach at Holy Ghost Catholic Elementary School. So that definitely gauged my interest and got me to an early start. And also with many of my Nord coaches kind of took me under their wing when my dad unfortunately died at a young age. So that kind of prodded me toward the coaching realm.
Thank you for sharing that insight, Coach. Coach Washington, if you could share with us, how'd you get into coaching? Where was your first start?
Actually, earlier you stated that I was a basketball coach. I actually had baseball at St. Augustine, the assistant coach for baseball. But yeah, I actually first started coaching baseball when I stopped playing college ball at Alcorn University after my freshman year. And I actually started as a travel ball baseball coach with one of the other local coaches in New Orleans. And I did that for a few years, which ended up kind of landing me an assistant job at Saint Augustine. And I've been coaching there since then. So this is my 6th year coaching at St. Augustine.
Coach Washington, if I can throw a follow-up question to you. One of the things that's happening in the city of New Orleans is baseball is growing. It's getting bigger and bigger, specifically with our inner city kids. Who are some of the biggest influences in your career that you can share with some of your players at St. Augustine?
Some of my biggest influences pretty much just some of my coaches. They just helped me to just understand the game a little bit stronger and develop a strong IQ just to kind of pass that torch down to some of the other players. So just throwing out some names, Elton Sartan is one of my coaches that kind of coached me from maybe around 12 all the way up through I was 18 years old. And so he actually kind of helped develop my passion to be a little bit stronger for the game. But the Urban Youth Academy that we have now in New Orleans is probably one of the biggest factors that we have that's pushing the baseball aspect in the city right now.
Thank you, Coach, for sharing that. Coach Haywood, if we could talk to you for a quick second. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine.
If you could just tell me, what has been the most fulfilling or rewarding part of coaching for you?
Actually, it's seeing where my players come from and where they have ended up. I had so many young ladies, man, that they just came from rough places. Actually, they needed St. Mary's more than St. Mary's needed them. But they grew into a point where they were better, what you would say, representatives of our school. I mean, they went from poor situations, broken homes, to now they are young ladies that's managing businesses and doing all types of things. And so that's the main focus of my coaching, to hopefully give young people an opportunity to know that they can be successful in life.
Thank you, Coach. I want to throw you a follow-up question to that, because one of the things that resonated with me was you said, talking about where your players started and kind of where they've gone and how they represented the school in a way that stands true to the integrity of St. Mary's. What characteristics would you say made you a strong coach that you were able to instill in those players?
You know, there's one coach that I had by the name of Bernard Griffith, and Bernard Griffith, man, made us men. You know, we were basketball players and we all had talent, but he made us men and understood how basketball made your life better. The decisions you made in the game made you make better decisions in life. And, you know, the day that he walked in the gym, it changed all of us. It changed all of us. And so those same things that I learned from him is the same things I tried to teach my players.
Understood. I know Coach Griff very well. I know some coaches who have been life-changing figures in my life. So I definitely understand where you're coming from. Coach Bryce, one of the things that Coach Haywood talked about was how life-changing coaches can be for not just players, but just everybody who they touch, all right? What do you think is the most overlooked aspect of being a coach?
I think the most overlooked aspect of being a coach is the time. The time you spend in the building and outside of the building with the athletes is the most underappreciated, undervalued part of the coaching. A lot of people see you coach these young men or young women from 4 to 6 or whenever your practice is supposed to start, but it really entails a deeper sense of time when you're dealing with those athletes. It's what you're doing when you're not at practice. It's the conversations that you're having when you're not practicing with the ball or the baton or the pom pom, or you know, the time that you have to spend away from the practice field or court is very underappreciated and undervalued, in my opinion.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you, Coach. I know how much time you all put into that great program that you have at Nacar. Coach Steve, recently you all won a state championship in basketball. I'm very proud of you, brother. As a brother, I'm very proud of you. But I know in listening, people are talking about the finished product of the process from this year, Coach Steve. What do you think has been one of the overlooked things as far as the success story that you've had as a coach this year?
Thanks for and foremost, but the thing that's overlooked is about far as the sacrifice that our young men and their parents put in for us to be successful this season. We came a long way from the standpoint of just being not known at all. Like, you know, the stories are that we took over a program 4 years ago that won one game. And the thing is, it's just like when I got hired, it wasn't no media blast, none of that stuff. So it just like, we really brick by brick, and we just laid the foundation, and no one is just not giving us credit for the hard work that we put in overall. It's just like everybody was just saying like upset, but like our kids really, really put in and sacrifice, and that's why we were successful. And that's the biggest thing that is very overlooked.
Knowing you personally and professionally, I can attest for the hard work that you put in and how you hold not just your players accountable, but also your other staff members accountable. So I want to give a kudos to you all in that McMain family. I want to come back to Coach Sanders, if I could for a minute. Coach Haywood spoke about how the girls in his program, where they came from, and seeing the joy he gets out of seeing some of the successes that they show today. He spoke about it from a female's perspective. Coach Sanders, can you talk about how important of a role the sports plays in keeping kids from falling into delinquency from some of the male players that you've had?
Well, I just think it's such a vital role in in the interaction with those kids as they journey through the high school experience, I've had the chance to work at a couple of, well, a good bit of what we would call inner city high school that had a lot of at-risk kids that some we were able to grab and kind of wrap around with them and try to take what they were dealing with their home lives and everything like that. And we've lost some through our journey too, but it's a kid progress coming in as that ninth grader, buck wild per se, and be able to see them hone in on something and well latch on to sports, and then maybe catch the academic part of it too and progress out and first of all get that high school diploma and go out into the world prepared to become a productive citizen. I think that's a big key in the way of coaching, because it's not always about wins and losses. I think if you can touch a good number of them, I think that's a vital role that a coach plays too. So it's definitely, it's rewarding for me as a coach, and I know other coaches go through the same thing, and we all latch on to some. Some mean a lot more than others, but as you watch all of them go through, it's just very rewarding to see them progress and grow as individuals, from where they come from, and then where they are when they're leaving out.
Thank you, Coach. And knowing you very well personally, I know many of the schools that you worked at and some of the knuckleheads like myself that have come under that tree that you're talking about. So thank you for that.
Right.
Coach Washington, I want to ask you basically the same question. How do you keep kids from falling into delinquency? Being at Saint Augustine, an all-boys school, you have a very unique perspective. How do you keep those kids from falling into delinquency?
Basically, to be honest with you, we just try to keep them as active as possible. So for the most part, we keep our program year round. So like pretty much we're in playoff week this week, and as soon as we finish, whenever we do finish the playoffs, it's towards the beginning of May. We'll be in summer ball towards the end of May. So it's kind of a short process for them, to have that vacation time, but it does keep them active and it does keep them focused to actually reach that higher goal that they're fighting, each year to try to progress the game.
This is a follow-up question. Do you feel like sometimes you spend just as much time being a social worker as you do actually coaching the sport? Talk to me about that.
Yeah, definitely. You have a lot of young men, young players that go through a lot of different things throughout their life that's more than just baseball, whether it's family related, whether it's school related, any various different options like that. But the biggest thing is those young men have the ability to come and talk to us as coaches, not just as the coach, but as mentors, also as young adults and so forth, to be able to help those young men to be able to reach their goals or whatever their aspirations may be.
Thank you, Coach. One of the most rewarding things in the world is being able to help people and put kindness into the world. So I appreciate that answer. And I appreciate what you're doing. Coach Sanders, I got to come back to you for a second. Knowing that you're stepping away from the sidelines, what has been for you the most fulfilling and rewarding part of coaching?
Well, basically, the day-to-day, basically, it's so rewarding to go in, and it's basically just an extension of the classroom. For me, when I decided to become a teacher / educator, the onus was placed because I wanted to be a basketball coach. Back in the day, you had to be a certified teacher and this and that. So that kind of prompted me to go back, and just forever, as long as I can remember, I just enjoyed teaching the game of basketball and coaching overall. I coached a little football at some point too, but that gym just kept drawing me back. It's just a great magnet for myself to be in the gym. I'm not going too far. I'm gonna be sitting in whoever the new coach is gym, I guess 2 to 3 days a week, watching them, and certainly at their games. So it's gonna be interesting just from another perspective for me.
Gotcha. Coach Steve, I got to come back to you. One of the things that you talk about, and I know this story, that when you took over that program had only won a single game. You took over a program that only won one game, and then 4 years later, you're high school champions. What strategies do you use to connect to your players? Because it can't just be X's and O's that's getting it all done, right? What strategies are you using to connect with the guys?
It's a strategy that I grew up on, for as just like kids these days know whether it's real or fake, and they remember everything that you tell them. And like at the end of the practice, at every day, we just saying, man, no matter what the circumstances are, whatever's going on, no matter what time it is, man, our phones as a coaching staff, our phone line is open to you no matter what it is. And just so happened, one of our kids just called me out the blue at 3 a.m, and I answered him. And I don't know if he just wanted to test to see what it was or whatever. We had a good conversation. We laughed and joked. And the next day at practice, he was just like, man, like everything you guys been telling us is real. So the thing is just like, I can't pretend to be something, because kids sense that and they pick up on that. And that's the bond that we've been following on. And that's what made us so great at what we're doing, because kids, once they can trust you, they'll run through a wall for you. And that's the thing that we building. And it's just like that every day after practice, we just telling them like, look, we want you to be a good scholar, but at the end of the day, we want you to go into your community and be a better young man. And they just run with that. And it's like that goes along with us and their parents. So that's the biggest thing. Once they trust you or whatever, once they gain your trust and once we gain the trust, they go hand in hand.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you. Coach Haywood, I'm going to come back to you quickly. You're in a unique situation as well, being at an all-girl school, being a male head coach at an all-girl school. Tell me about some of the strategies that you use to connect with your players.
It's always been how you carry yourself. You know, I learned from my dad, man, you always carry yourself like a man, you dress like a man, and you treat people the way they're supposed to be treated. You know, we have to show that we care, because everybody's coming from different situations, different households, and they have different things going on. And they have to, like Coach said, have to be able to trust you that you can deal with what they're going through, but at the same time, give them a way to go, you know, give them some direction. And so one thing I've always done as a teacher, as a coach, I always wore suit and tie. I always wanted to dress respectful so they saw respect. And so they respected the things that I say. Not only did I say things, but I also did things. So if I said something that I was going to do, I did it. I didn't do things differently to make sure that they understood that what I said, I meant it. And so they started to catch on to doing the same thing. And so it's really how you carry yourself. And then when you say something, you do it.
Thank you, Coach. Coach Bryce, you all have experienced a great deal of success, and one of the things that you talk about in that success is not championships, but the process. The process. How do you convey what the process is to players year in and year out?
I'm waiting till they finish clapping. But I would say this about the process. The process at Carr might be different at McMain, will be different at McMain, will be different at 35, will be different at Carver, will be different at Saint Augustine. I think it's up to the program itself, not just a football program, but an athletic program to identify what is our process, how do we become superior at what we are trying to achieve. If our goals are to mold better men and women, what is the process in which we're trying to do that? How do we get people on the same page? Buying into the process for 16 and 17 are difficult enough, but for the adults, can they buy into that same process and not only teach it, but do it?
Got you. Thank you, Coach. I really appreciate that. Give Coach Howard, who's behind you, a shout out for me, head coach at Etna High School. Coach T. Howard in the background. I see you, Coach. Wave to the people, T. All right. One of the reasons that I believe this panel discussion is taking place is because of the importance of mentoring and mentorship. Coach Sanders, if I can come back to you, how important is mentorship in coaching?
Well, I think is very, very important because basically you impacting lives. Several people have said it on the panel, and we all know that your players, your peers, the fans, everybody's watching what you do and what you emulate as that once you ascend to that coaching position, where's the first chair or the second chair? So you actually mentoring or you modeling behaviors and everything. You take individuals under your wing, experiences that they go through, in on our level at the high school and somewhat for the young. So they come in, they're looking and they can see and know that they can trust you. You can kind of build that relationship where you end up more as a mentor. And then on the side of, say, mentoring other men coaches and building them up, I think it's an important factor that we be there for young aspiring coaches to kind of let them progress through what they need to progress through to become, the best coach that they can be. So I think it's a vital role that we all play in every aspect, not just the head coaches. Everybody has a distinct role in it, and it's definitely important.
Thank you, Coach. I want to make a connection between what you said, Coach Sanders, and what Coach Haywood said. Coach Haywood talked about wearing suit and tie to the games, and you talked about modeling a certain behavior. I think that modeling seemingly is very important to coaching and to mentoring. Coach Washington, if you can add to the conversation about mentorship and how important it is in your baseball program, please do.
Yes, it's just all about the example that's set, with us having young men, young Black men with that, seeing another Black male that's successful and able to support for his family and so forth, whether these young men go on to actually play ball at the next level or they actually go and just go into their careers and their majors and things, we still want them to be the best that they possibly can be, regardless. So the fact that the mentorship comes in place at the point that they can actually see that with their own eyes, see someone actually wake up to work and come to work every day. That person comes to practice every day and does the right thing when they're at that process. So that just the fact that they're able to see that, they're able to pick up on those small skills.
Thanks, Coach Washington. I want to take this time to shout out my mentor, Coach William Robinson, former head coach at Etna High School, the legend, the man himself, my mentor. Shout out to him. Coach Wu, when you see him on Saturday having breakfast, and make sure you let him know I shouted him out. But I wanna take a quick minute to talk to Coach Steve, who's very well connected just in the city of New Orleans, not just basketball wise, but just with helping kids. And I know this because I know him personally and professionally. What do you think, Coach, is the biggest setback stopping New Orleans student athletes from competing at the next level?
My honest answer to that is just think once upon a time, early 90s, late 80s, New Orleans was a hotbed for every basketball player. We had the it factor. Every college coach wanted a kid, a young man from New Orleans because they know it was going to be tough. Nowadays, in my honest opinion, I feel as though our schools here don't respect us. And the thing is, it's just like, how can someone from out of state respect us and our local guys don't? And the thing is just like, we have some kids that's doing it on the court and in the classroom. And my biggest thing is just like, once one of our kids get the opportunity, I think that'll get off our head. But it's just like one of these coaches from somewhere is gonna just be like open up the floodgate, and it's gonna be on from that standpoint. You got to think about it. We had 2 New Orleans schools that represented in a state championship game, first time in history. So it's just like that stuff we got to build on. And once that guy give one of these kids a shot, everything is gonna be a domino effect.
Thanks, Coach. Coach Haywood, just from a different perspective, can you talk to me about what do you think is stopping New Orleans student athletes from competing at the next level, particularly our female athletes?
I'm gonna tell you, and you know, sometimes it's hard to say these things, but a lot of our younger leaders are not the leaders of the past. You know, the fundamentals were important to us. We always coach the fundamentals. Make sure that you have the basics before you go out to shoot the 3-pointers and, you know, do the flashy things. You know, one thing I can say, I've had 44 girls get scholarships from St. Mary's while I've been a coach. And when they go to a team, they play. They do not sit on a bench. And that's because we have drilled them on the fundamentals, drilled them on understanding the game, and drilled them on being coached. A lot of these young ladies that I get now, I have a hard time with them at the beginning because the fact is that they have not been drilled in the fundamentals. The girls used to get in the 90s and before Katrina, oh Lord, they came there, they just was a little rough around the edges, but they understood how to play basketball. Now, all they want to do is shoot 3-pointers, you know, and it's just hard at the beginning and then trying to get them to the place they need to be. And as Coach said, at one time, you know, coaches were looking for New Orleans players. You know, they were looking for New Orleans players. I mean, calling me up, Coach, who y'all have down there? And then not just from my school, but it was other players. Now you have to call the coaches. And so we have to find some kind of way to get back to where we were. And I think really just getting back to the fundamentals and teaching young people the fundamentals of the game and not the flashy part of the game.
Thank you, Coach Haywood. Coach Washington, earlier we spoke about the increasing interest that baseball is receiving with our inner city kids. Can you talk to me about what may be stopping some of the New Orleans student athletes from competing at the next level in baseball?
To me, nothing is really stopping us. To be honest with you, I just think that New Orleans is, I guess, maybe kind of late on the baseball scene. So people are starting to really kind of realize that y'all actually have ball players down there in New Orleans that can actually play, you know, at this level. So it's just all about the work ethic and the amount of time that they put in. So usually most of the guys that are putting in the work and the time and the effort are actually going to the next level, you know, whether it's SWAC, D2, or big time Division I, you know, we actually are getting to the next level. But, you know, I don't think it's a major thing with us, you know, kind of not making it to the next level. I just think that I think they believe that we're more of a football and a basketball town, but we actually have a lot of ball players that actually play baseball too.
Gotcha. As we get ready to close out, I really want all of you to answer this question, and I'm going to ask it as I see you all on my screen. So I'll call on you. Coach Sanders, I'm going to start with you. If you could give one piece of advice to young men and women who aspire to be coaches, what would it be?
I just think they need to come in with an open mind and start not at a level where they can learn and not coming in as if they know everything. We got this, basically everybody wants to be a coach. Everybody can't be a coach, but I think you can grow into being a dynamic coach if you're willing to learn and coexist with some people, collaborate and everything. We got a lot of people that know it all that can coach from the stands, but it's a different dynamic on the bench. And like Bryce alluded to, product that's on the court that they pay to come and see. It's a lot of hard work that goes into coaching, but if you got aspirations to do it, just come in with an open mind and ready to work with somebody where you can learn the ins and outs of what's going on, and you can have some effective change in the community and with the youth.
Thank you, Coach. One of my favorite coaches, Coach Jabbar Jalouk, who was formerly a high school football coach in New Orleans. I never played football. He actually had me to come and coach football, and I kept saying, Coach, I can't coach football. I didn't play no football. He said, you don't have to know football. You just got to care and put the time in. And so I think that goes hand in hand in what you're talking about, learning from somebody, putting the time in. That behind the scenes kind of approach to coaching and learning how to coach from great coaches is something that I think every young coach can learn from. So thank you, Coach. Coach Haywood, if you would answer that same question for me, what is one piece of advice you would give to a young man or a young woman who's aspiring to be a coach?
One of the things that, Wu said is really putting in the time. Putting in the time. And one of the things you just talked about, that you don't have to really be knowledgeable at the beginning in everything. I coached basketball. When I went to St. Mary's, I had to coach basketball, volleyball, softball, and track. For 7 years, I was the only coach at the school. And so I had to put in time to learn how to do this thing. In fact, my only undefeated season was volleyball, where we went all the way to the quarterfinals before we lost a game. And, I didn't know nothing about volleyball, but I got the books, I got tapes, and I learned and I taught plays and all types of things. And so just being dedicated to the sport, dedicated to putting in the time. Now, I'm gonna tell you one thing that I did learn from coaching is that you can't put too much time in with them without putting some time in with your family. It was the hard way I had to learn that, because one time one of the girls asked me, Coach, well, when do you be with your family? Because you're always with us. And so you have to get that balance. But you have to put in the time, get that balance, and then things will work out.
Thank you, Coach. And Coach Bryce, coming to you, gonna ask you one piece of advice you would give a young man or woman who aspires to be a head coach or just coach in general.
I would say a lot of people say know your why are you doing this? I would give the advice to say, what's your what? What are you trying to gain from coaching? If it's a state championship, if that's your main what, if you're trying to win a state championship, that's when you're going to lose. Have 4 pillars of your program that's non-negotiable. Have 4 pillars of your program that you stand on, not only as a coach, but as a professional. And I think with that growth, you're going to achieve the what you're trying to get out of it. We're trying to make an impact on young African-American men and women through athletics. Why are we trying to do that? To save them from the streets. How are we going to do that? With time, with effort, with patience, with caring, with love. When are we going to do it? We're going to do it now. So when you stand on fundamentals that's that simple, it's harder to live them and example them every day. So know first, not why you're doing it, but what you're trying to gain out of it first. And I think as a young coach, you will get and achieve way more success than trying to figure out why you're doing it. Figure out what you're trying to get out of it first. And I think you'll have more success, not only as a coach, but as a mentor to not only, like Coach Haywood said, your team, but your family, because people look at the coaches and their family as the pillars of their family as well, because they think you're a coach, you have the answer, right? So have those pillars in which you example and you model, like Coach Wu alluded to every day.
Thank you, Coach. Coach Washington, same question. What advice would you give to an aspiring coach?
You can never know too much. You know, you can always be willing to learn. One of the first questions that was asked to me, like towards the beginning of my career, was, you know, are you ready to be a head coach? And at the time, you know, I was very adamant about, yes, I am. But sitting back and thinking about it, I had to learn a whole lot more to the game, and it was more than just the sport. You know, it dealt with the school aspect, the parents aspect, the fans aspect, and it's just a lot that goes, you know, into the actual coaching process more than just the sport. You know, you're dealing with the students in the building, you're dealing with the players on the field, you're dealing with a whole lot of different factors that come into the actual program and the sport itself. So just having enough patience and learning something new every day, you know, kind of helps me become a better coach. So just if you are interested in becoming a new coach or something like that, always listen. You know, always be willing to learn something.
Thank you, Coach Washington. Coach Steve, same question. Give me some advice. I'm thinking about hitting that field again, man. I'm thinking about coaching again. Give me some advice, Coach.
The biggest thing I'll piggyback off Coach Washington said is just like, you can never know too much. You can never know too much, for the simple fact is it's okay to pick up the phone and make that phone call to get advice. Because I know for a fact, I still call Coach Wu to this day. I think we talk at least twice out the week just to pick his brain, because it's like, I don't know it all. The next thing is just like, know what you're getting yourself into. Are you ready for dealing with the community? Are you ready to deal with the parents? Are you ready to deal with the administration? How are you going to handle a situation when they tell you no? What are you going to do as your second resort? And the next thing is who you're going to hire. The biggest thing with hiring people is just like, if I was to hire people that's going to tell me, agree with me all the time, I know for a fact we wasn't going to be successful. So that's got to be the biggest thing. It's just like, you got to hire people that you trust, and you got to hire people that have the same interests as you have. And that's how I think everyone is just coming into a corner. It's just like, and you got to have the mindset of just like, you're not going to win every game, but it's about winning with these kids. And that's the main focus of everything.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you, Coach. All of you coaches have shared great things with us. That will close us out this evening's panel discussion. I would like to thank all of our panelists for giving us your time and your thoughts, and a thank you to all our viewers watching online. For those of you who missed part of the discussion and would like to watch it again, All Inspire NOLA virtual panel discussions will be available on the Inspire NOLA YouTube page. Thank you, and have a great night.